Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Farkan, a product designer working in London, and in this really super casual video, we're going to talk about a super important topic, which is understanding and knowing your strengths as a designer. The reason it's so important is because in interviews I'll ask you the question, what are your strengths and weaknesses as a designer? What do you feel like you're strong at as a designer? And hopefully this video can really help you understand this if you're struggling with this, as well as it will not just only help you out in interviews, it will just help out with your career as a whole, because it's so important that when you're trying to grow as a designer, going to your managers and peers and saying that this is areas where I find them as my strengths and I want to grow in. So if you're new here, be sure to subscribe for future design related videos, and let's get started. So when growing up, a common conception is strengths are things that you're good at and weaknesses are things that you're bad at, but we need to reframe this thinking. That's not true. Strengths are things that strengthen you as a person, and weaknesses are things that weaken you as a person. So at school you might be really good at maths in the sense that you'll get 90% on these exams. Biology, you'll get 90%, but the reality is that you're doing good in terms of performance. Your teacher might say, oh, you're really good, that's your strength, but that's not true. If you're finding it really demoralizing, you struggle to find motivation to revise to do maths, you might struggle to, even at the end of a lesson, you just really hate it. Right, that's fine. It's not a strength because it's not strengthening you. It's more of a weakness because it weakens you. You feel less energy, you feel more of a lull. And when it comes to design, for example, user research, you might be really good at doing user interviews, but at the end of it you feel like, I just can't wait for it to be over with. It weakens me. I don't find much motivation. I don't feel like I'm growing a lot in this area. But visual design, I've got feedback that right now I'm not that good at it, but I love doing the extra work and I feel a lot of growth in this, a lot of fulfillment, and I really want to pursue this area, and that's something that's strengthening me right now, and that's more of a strength. So these are what strengths and weaknesses are. So now we know more about strengths and weaknesses, let's look at a framework to define what a strength is. And we know strengths strengthen us as a person. We can use the SIGN framework, S-I-G-N. And starting off with S, which is success. So for example, visual design. Once you've really got your design over the window and you're happy with it, you feel so successful. You've completed all those design crits and reviews, you've iterated it to the end, it's now being published and it's been developed on. You feel so successful and fulfilled that you've actually done this. Next up is I, instinctive. You just find yourself, in terms of visual design, picking up extra work without thinking about it. You find yourself in your spare time just doing side hustles or projects involved with visual design. It just comes natural to you. You don't even realize you're picking up things. It's just instinctive. But a weakness is something that more weakens you. And for example, research, you just don't look forward to doing it. You try to put it off. You don't look for any extra research work. You might just do it because it's part of a job description. So next up in the SIGN framework is G. It's something where you feel like you're growing a lot. You get a lot of growth out of this as a person, and you're challenging yourself. And this is really important. You realize there's gaps in your visual design and there's a lot of growth for you here, and you can't wait to grow as a person. Just because you're not smashing it out of the park, you're not smashing these exams or tests, doesn't mean it's something that's a weakness. It can still be a strength because you feel a lot of growth in this area. And last up is N, which is need. There's a lot of fulfillment out of this. So I feel like, oh, I've completed this design, I feel fulfilled, I feel like I've actually achieved something today. Whereas being in lots of meetings for user research or interviews, you know what, I feel like I've achieved nothing today. But again, research might be your strength, but visual design might be a weakness. But then remember, we don't just define strengths and weaknesses by performance stats, but that is the SIGN framework. Next up, let's look at identifying what you love and what you loathe and finding out your strengths and weaknesses. So a really easy way to find out what your strengths and weaknesses are as a designer is by making a simple table, like jot down on a piece of paper. When you carry out your day-to-day activities, have 2 columns. We'll include a Figma template as well. So on one side of this column, you should do activities that you love doing, and on the other side, have activities that you loathe doing, or just simply call it didn't like doing. And you have these two columns, and then throughout your day-to-day activities, when you're carrying out your job, put the activities inside these columns every single day, and then by the end of the week you should have two columns filled up with things that you love doing and you found were your strengths, and things that you didn't like doing. So let's give you some examples. Presenting, you had to do a presentation this week. It really took up all of your energy. You was thinking about it all week, and by the end of it you felt really drained. Just put that in the loathed column, things I didn't like doing. Whereas visual design, I completed my first iteration of a design. I felt so fulfilled, and at the end of it, I loved it. Put that in the loved column. And various other activities that you have to do. For example, you could be mentoring another designer. You love doing it. Just put that in the loved column. But if you don't, put that in the loathed column. That teaching isn't just something for you. There's nothing wrong with putting anything in the loved or loathed column. There's no better person than yourself to tell you what your strengths are. It's not about performance metrics here. It's about things that strengthen you as a person and things that weaken you as a person. And from here we can really start to identify how can we get better at our strengths to be a better designer. We focus on our weaknesses and things that don't motivate us and things that weaken us will only end up being more average. But we don't want to be average as designers. We want to be as good as we can be and focus on our strengths and get them to a good level here. So the last thing I'll say is you will learn and grow the most in areas that strengthen you as a person, because naturally when it came to design for me personally, I was just naturally instinctively searching up articles or going to live streams or meetups because it's something that I was really instinctive and I really was motivated in doing that. That's why I chose design as a passion. And I just subconsciously do extra design work after work without thinking about it, and that's what's really gonna make you a better designer. So when it comes to interviews and they ask you what are your strengths, be like, strengths are things that strengthen me and this is things that I love doing. And visual design, I understand, I've got self-awareness that I'm not that good at it right now, but I love doing it and I want to get better at this. Can you help me do this as a company? And self-awareness is key in interviews as well. I hope you found this video useful and it'll help you identify what your strengths are and it'll help you out in your design interviews to really understand what you should be pursuing. Remember, fixing your weaknesses will only make you average, and we shouldn't be fearful of our weaknesses. We should be focusing on our strengths to be a stronger and better designer. So comment down below if you learned something new and what you find strengthens you. Put that in the comment section below. Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for future design related videos, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.